Okay, here we go. So, like I said, we're at Trent. Trent Tower was Reading Tower that was probably, I think, built in like, I don't know. I'm sure. Hold on, I have a couple things here. Um, let's see. Looks like I see a 1935 or a 19. I'm not quite sure when it was built. Looks a little bit around like the same kind of thing as some of like the Newtown Junction, but I'm seeing a lot of 1955. So maybe it's maybe 1955 is the date. But we'll get to that in a second. Anyway, 1994 Trent was closed, re-signaled. So a lot of the older stuff that was there was replaced with Conrail equivalents. What started out as nothing major, but it did have it did have a little bit of depth, covering both the SEPTA, what is effectively the SEPTA terminal, and a couple other bits and pieces. By the Conrail era, it was effectively you had the two-track Trenton line, and 2-yard track, and effectively 2-yard track. So the one was technically like an industrial track, and a trailing point ladder to connect it all. So starting right here, we have. I'm just gonna go into. So here we have a dwarf signal for track 2. I call these. I did a blog post on these. These 4-headed dwarfs were kind of a Conrail special. As I mentioned last week, a 3-headed dwarf can with flashing and virtual heads can display most indications, including medium clear, medium approach medium, restricting, stop, slow approach, limited clear, all sorts of stuff you can display with just 3 lamps. But one thing you can't display is straight clear. So in a number of locations, including today at CP Hatch, Conrail would strap on a 4th lamp and would just have green, yellow, and red. So that would let them do, green for clear, of course, with, green over green for dwarf. Then that would still let you have your, I guess this one, you couldn't do an approach medium on that, but I guess you could go green, yellow, green, red. But this one I have a picture of it back in like 2014 where you have the 2 greens and the yellow and the red. So probably you would diverge over. I'm not sure you do the medium. Who knows? Anyway, let's just see what I got here. So this is just the 4S signal, 4S-1. So I could try to dig up that picture I have with those, but you can look at it. It's somewhere on my blog. So when SEPTA trains get to Trent, they usually have a good 20, 30-minute layover, sometimes more. Sometimes it's like they arrive, go wait for 40 minutes, and then roll back just in time for another train to show up. So it's not a balanced clock face type of operation they got going on. So you have plenty of time to wander around. If you come in waiting for your return, it's like I don't know what it's doing now with the single track. But at the time, if you came into West Trenton, there was no doing a quick turnaround. You'd come in and you would wait the better part of an hour, probably 30, at least 40 minutes before it left. So here we have I'm not sure, this I guess would be the west side of Trent Tower. It still has that traditional brick base, but it has a flat roof. That's why I'm thinking that. I'm looking at that 1955 date. But I don't know. Something tells me it's from the 30s. This, although the tower closed in 1994, it's still, to this day, is used as a SEPTA crew facility for the West Trenton yard and the West Trenton service. So when crews come in here, they will take use the facilities. On a Silverliner 2 fan trip on a Sunday, one of the routes was they went out to West Trenton, and they let the participants use the because there's no bathrooms on a Silverliner 2. There's no bathrooms on any SEPTA trains. So we were able to make use of the facilities in Trent. And when we went up there, the USNS, what is listed on the diagram as a Type L interlocking machine, it's a unit lever. It's a typical unit lever. I don't know what made this one different than a CTC machine. Probably, maybe that's just what they called something with direct wire control. I don't think that Trent ever really had a CTC operation going on. It did control a bit of an extended territory, like out to what is today CP Wing. If you look at the original diagram here, there's the Trent Classic, and you have a couple things. Oops, come on. You have a couple things sort of. Oops. Farther away there, where I think today Wing is. Anyway, yeah, this is still completely useless. To figure out what the hell's wrong with that. So you just have the rear, etc. So yeah, it's the upstairs, the interlocking machine. It's the consoles there, but none of the levers are in. It's just an empty console. I do have photos of it on my for the farewell to the Silverliner 2 trip back in 2012 or 10. In fact, that's probably easy enough for me to pull up. Yeah, it is 2010. And they kept going for 2 more years. Now, the 2010 trip was way nicer than the 2012 trip due to some politics. But here we go. I didn't have as many pictures as I thought I would. Here we go. Here's the picture of the Trent machine, generally gutted for parts. Upstairs of Trent Tower, the bathroom, the stairs. So, oh, here we go. Sorry, those are just additional photos I took. And here we have the Trent interlocking machine, what's left of it. Still neat that it's there. You know, one of those nice desks, but yeah, it's been it's been salvaged by years of salvage people. And moving on. I did you could see through the windows that the relay room had a lot of the thick sort of signal wire still there. That green stuff is not bare copper. That's just sort of what happened with the insulation material. Usually it's very rubbery insulation. Just going through my old Trent photos to find the old names to keep this moving. Huh. I know I've seen this photo, but not sure why I don't have the names and stuff in there. Anyway, these are by this point the yard tracks that had been slightly more reconfigured so that instead of having this sort of Trent Industrial Branch two-headed dwarf. It was just another unilens. So that's the 4S-2 and 4S-3 signals there. Now I don't want to de-brighten it, but I'm going to try to pop that brick color a little bit. Oops. There we go. I'm always torn if what I should be labeling as part of the CP or part of the interlocking. The tower is still there, so I usually give that the honor of leaving it part of the tower. What did I do back? I think maybe I was doing CP back in the day. Trent. No, just Trent. So I don't know what's up with that. So we have the 4S-2 and 4S-3 along with the probably the 7D rail right there. That power D rail. Oh, it's also not an east-west thing. It's north-south. Got to remember that this is north-south. Here we have some smudge pots. These are used in place of propane or electric switch heaters. I can see in some of the photos that there are clearly propane heaters. At least I thought there were. Yeah, they got some sort of actual automatic heater going on those, I think. You can see the wire. But I guess maybe if they just need some extra stuff, they've got the smudge pots handy. These are kerosene. These are like basically a couple metal pots with a wick at one end that can hold a couple gallons of kerosene. They're commonly used in agriculture in like places like Florida to create a low, the oily smoke can carry heat and prevent frost damage in normally warm areas. But in railroads, they can be used for inexpensive point heating, although at the expense of needing to send out maintenance crews. New Jersey Transit Atlantic City Line makes use of them. Camden Line from the B&O between Baltimore and D.C. makes use of those. Makes use of them in some areas. Here we have the West Trenton Yard. At this point, it's 3 yard tracks, but those condense into a single hand throw switch. This area was generally sort of redone with the SEPTA project. If we go over here onto the overhead, wherever that is, here it is. Where they didn't alter the interlocking too much. You did have that one crossover, then a yard track, and then from that yard track you had a bunch of hand throws. It looks like that one of these yard tracks was sort of sacrificed. So we go to the picture here. There are 3 yard tracks. And there's the signal bridge, I think. Oh, there's the signal bridge. And I think some of those there was let's see here. Oops, wrong one. Nope. Yeah, there's the barrier, and there would have been one track. Yeah, that some of these tracks were taken out. They now store SEPTAs on the main, and then the CSX line has been separated and loops around like that. You know, huge waste. But you know what you're gonna do. Just because some people play us. And there we have the old West Trenton Industrial. Still connects in with CSX. And I don't know if the track... Yeah, the track is clearly still there. And there was a turning Y as well. Going back to the original Reading. Trenton branch. Yeah, it doesn't really show the Y in service, but it was there. Next. Oh, that's right. I'm looking at the numbers here. So here we have, looks like a 9000 series and 434, 90 something, and I can't tell what the other dude is. So let's see what I'm going to do with this. I'll probably just label this as a West Trenton Yard photo. Oh, it is 9011. Glad I got a photo. So I thought it was 9011, but I didn't want to reveal my bias. For those again who don't know, the 9000 series cars were Reading. In fact, the original the Reading's bunch of single Silverliner 4s were also in the 9000 series. Except that there's a separate Silverliner 3. Built a few years later, but no letter boards. They were purchased. They were pretty much owned by SEPTA as opposed to being just funded by SEPTA. And they had no use for the railroad's number boards at that point. They came in after the PRR went away, and then we have one more Silverliner 2, but I have no idea who that 3 is. And again, here we can see the yard track. So there's your hand throws that start right there. There's the main track signals and the main track dwarf. The main track dwarf only having a single red light for stop. The CP Trent relay hut, and then the station behind it. That would be the 4S-3. So this track on the left here would have had had a sort of a, what do you call those? A run out in place of a derail, but they just removed it. So up ahead is the number 5 switch that they just turned into instead of a crossover with a sort of a tail derail. It just sort of, they don't care. So this is the 4S-3. Sorry about that. All right, last one of the set. Wow, see, you know, lots of 2s and 3s. I can't, again, I told you that, like, it was odd that the 2s and 3s seemed to be coming and going in waves. Every time SEPTA thought that they were about to be replaced, they'd start running them to run all the useful miles off them, and then suddenly, when they realized that the contract wasn't working out, they would stop running them so to keep them, husband them for the rush hour. So it kept going back and forth to peak period only, then to all the time, like all the time including weekends, then peak period only. It was weird over the years. It made it a little hard to catch them. You get used to them never being around, so you wouldn't go look. And then suddenly they're like, oh, what are they doing out all the time? Alright, that's the first bunch. It's going to be three batches today. I'm going to see if my, if I'm still streaming. Yep, I'm going to see if my, I'm just going to turn down the volume right there. If I'm still streaming. Yep, I'm going to see if my, I'm just going to turn down the volume right there. If I'm still streaming. Yep, let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, going to turn down the volume right there. I turned down the volume on this so I can just see what's up in the actual chat. If I'm still streaming. Yep, let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume right there. I turned down the volume on this so I can just see what's up in the still streaming. I just didn't realize it was like. Yep, let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume right there. I turned down the volume on this so I can just see what's still streaming. I just didn't realize it was like. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume right there. I turned down the volume on this so I can just see what's still streaming. I just didn't realize it was like. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can just see what's still streaming. I just didn't realize it was like. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can just see what's still streaming. I just didn't realize it was like. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. I just didn't realize it was like. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my in the actual chat. Okay, turn down the volume. I turned down the volume on this so I can see what's still streaming. Let's see if my Test. We back? All right. Test. We back? Did that help? All right. Test. We back? Okay. Yeah, Did that help? This is all right. Super fun. All right. Test. Is everything okay? We back? Okay. Yeah, Did that help? This is all right. Super fun. All right. I'm not going to touch any volume knobs to avoid feedback. Test. Is everything okay? We back? Okay. Yeah, Did that help? This is all right. Super fun. All right. I'm not going to touch any volume knobs to avoid feedback. Test. Is everything okay? We back? Okay. Yeah, Did that help? This is all right. Super fun. All right. I'm not going to touch any volume knobs to avoid feedback. Test. Is everything okay? We back? I'm not going to touch any volume knobs to avoid feedback. Test. Is everything okay? We back? Okay. Wait, what am I doing here? Test. Is everything okay? Okay, 1 second. All right, I'm going to mute the volume on this and then see how that goes. Okay. Is it working now? I have no idea why this is freaking out here. Turn this up. All right, there we go. How's this? That good? Turn this up. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm just having the worst day with technical things. Okay, I apologize for the slight delay. I'm gonna keep focusing. I'm gonna mute this also. I'm just gonna keep focusing on the chat here and this stuff. All right, yell if there's any problems. I will, if you see any weird streams later tonight, I might be trying to do some tests. For anyone who's watching right now, just be aware that you might see tests for me to try to debug this problem. It might not be tonight, it might be some other night, but there might be tests. So if you get a notification sometime in the next week or so of like a stream going on, don't expect it to be very long. It's just going to be me trying to fix this. So yes, Silverliner 2s all over the place in 2003. Super fun. They did appear to be on the R3 a lot. I remember even in the 90s, I would frequently see a lot of Silverliner 2s on the R3, both the Westchester and the West Trenton. That whole R3 would, I think R3 would also run through a lot. So how do we have here? Let me see what I. What am I doing with this? Do I have a closer one, or was that just an unfortunate crop? Nah. So, as I mentioned, trains would usually pull in. Sometimes they'd wait on the mains. Sometimes they'd go into the yard, and after the crew was done relieving themselves and hanging out, they would pull the train back out and onto the platform. Mainly because you had to have, if freight showed up, they didn't tend to leave the train platform. So again, if you were doing a out and back, you didn't really have anywhere to wait. Yeah, all my streams were working fine until YouTube decided to try to update its client. I mean, I'm not like a big Twitch streaming person. This is just something I'm doing for fun, so I just don't want to, this is not my job. I'm not an influencer. So I didn't really have a lot of technical, time and effort trying to deal with it. So here's a tough one. I'm trying to, hold on. This photo is not composed very well, so I'm trying to see what I can do to save it. Because the pantograph, sort of a front end crop, the front is pretty tight in here. Now, originally, what did I do with this? I think I just desized the whole thing. So, yeah. Probably just crop it. I'm not going to do a crop. I'm just going to resize it a little bit. I'm keeping as many original names as I can. We have 254 again. Not sure why this says R1 signs on both ends of it. That's sort of weird. One of those things that was sort of interesting is that it took, I'm sure I've said this story before, that it took me quite a long time, well about now, because my dad had all these PRR books written in the 60s and 70s that would talk about the Silverliner 2s and, the Silverliners, or I think they called them Silverliners back then. And it took me a while to realize that they were still running on SEPTA, because I figured that anything in my PRR history book would have been scrapped. That was the story of everything. All the steam had been scrapped. All those diesels you see had been scrapped. Like everything in that book had been scrapped. And it was just very surprising. It didn't quite register for a while that the stuff in my railroad history book was still out there and running. Because this also, as a kid, all those things tend to run. A lot of that stuff tends to what do you call it? Run together. Here's an interesting thing. I actually did some color correction back in the day. Wow, that's pretty advanced for 2002 me. The question is do I keep tracks, or do I just try to zoom in on that station? Huh. Wow, I actually cropped that to exactly the pixel perfect to the size I want. Oh no, 3 pixels off. Well, there you go. Oops, wrong one. I'll use the original name for this too. So anyway, as you may have noticed, I am now returning from West Trenton. I took some West Trenton photos, got on that Silverliner 2, and I am enjoying the ride back to Center City. That was Newtown Junction. Here we are at Wayne Junction with a little better shot of the Wayne Tower. And the new Wayne Interlocking hut there. Let's see what I used that back in the day. There you go. That's a I'm gonna rename this one. Oops. I mean, I'm going to color balance it first. Put a little less blue. So yeah, that was another thing that was tough as a kid is that all the Silverliners kind of looked the same. You know, some of them were newer inside, and some of them were sort of crummy, and I couldn't quite know why. Especially that when they were doing the rebuild, some of the 4s also had that nasty catchman mustard interior as well. So you had that problem. So the good news is this is Wayne. This is SEPTA 9145, one of the blue liners. So I'm just going to brighten this up a bit if I can. I'm pretty sure that one's still there. I'm not sure that's exactly the right kind of blue color. I think they were a little darker, but at least I know the name. I'm going to check back. Is everything okay? Yell if anything is not okay. Yell as in yell in the chat. Here we have 16th Street Junction. I do not have a lot of pictures of this signal bridge. Because almost every time, I'll tell you why. Whenever I do my SEPTA trips, and I'm coming from Reading territory, I almost always get off. I almost always get off at Fern Rock and take the Broad Street line for the rest of the trip. So I have very, very few. In fact, this might be the only picture I have of SEPTA 16th Street, of the southbound home signal. I think I have. I'm pretty sure I do have others, but I do not have as many as the northbound. And that's going to be track. I got to figure out what track that is. Got to go up to 16th Street that they spell with a 6. I mean an S. That looks like. Come on, tell me the tracks, please. Oh, there it is. Track number 1. It'd be the 36L signal. And thank you for bearing with me with the technical difficulties. I don't know how reliable most streams are. I don't usually watch a lot of them. So I am now trying to see what I can do here. I don't like this. I'm trying to cut this letterboxing, but I want to save some of those things on the wall. I'm not sure exactly what to do there. Maybe I'll just cut this in a 1500 by 1000 aspect ratio that I use for my DSLR pictures. I usually like maintaining the original aspect ratio. It keeps me honest that once I start fooling with, like, once it's like, oh, I can just do whatever aspect ratio, then I'm like gonna make everything a weird aspect ratio. So I try to limit it, but occasionally I'll do 1500 by 1000 or 2000 by 1000 or 2000 by 950. Vertical stuff I have a lot more leeway. It's mainly that I just don't want to go too wide. What would I have called this? No. No. Huh. It's like another photo that didn't make the cut for reasons. Very, very strange. Or it didn't make the cut in that folder. I mean, it could probably live in somewhere else. So here we have the double slips and the 19 switch. Here we have the old. This is where the old alignment to Reading Terminal continues. Today, that is the home of the SEPTA Fairmount substation. I can go check if I can find the right thing. For years, SEPTA had been the original substation just north of Reading Terminal. It's still there, had been active because, you know, when they did the cutover and abandoned Reading Terminal, there's the ramp that's going to become a linear park. There's the convention center. There's the terminal head house. So the right-of-way went over there, and then they split off from the city branch. But the Callow Hill substation, which was pretty had a pretty hefty amount of equipment. So we're getting more and more overgrown there. Looks like it had 2 of the transformers. All the catenary on this was up and powered as feeders to come to that substation. And it was, you know, it basically lasted in that zombie state for 10, 20, 30 years until SEPTA built this Fairmount rail substation. And that would have been right beyond where you'd see the approach cuts off, which is right there. So where all those trees and junk are, that's where the substation has been. The new substation has been built. I'm going to try to straighten this, and I'm going to use the original name, because I'm sure I have better, newer photos of that. Now here's a thing. This is where I have to go. I think these are autos. These are the distance to CP Vine. Oh, sorry, not CP, SEPTA Vine interlocking. I'm going to have to go into the archives and figure this one out. Ugh. Come on. One second. Here we go. I think these are signal 16. Uh-oh, that's the wrong direction. Because I don't have a lot of pictures, again, going into the tunnels. Shoot. Alright, you have to make this one up as I go. What's signal 17? Okay, that's 17.3. See if I can zoom in and see what that is. I can't really see. Do I have a closer picture? Nope. It just cuts to there. I don't have my SEPTA. I do have SEPTA diagrams, but I'm just going to label as like SEPTA as signal for like 15 maybe. I'm pretty sure those are autos. Yeah, I think the number would have to be 15. Something else that I need to remind myself. So here are some interesting stuff. It looks like, so again, this is 2002, and the Amtrak's first bunch, they got the Acellos. Those were in service around year 2000. And then it's like people, like these weird pictures. Again, this is sort of pre-internet. Weird pictures of like baby Acellos started showing up. And I'm like, what the heck are those things? It's like, yeah, that's the HHP8. So that's like a newly delivered HHP8, which this would have been number 4. And then we have one of the Mark ones. I'm not sure. It would be 49 something, something, something. And then we have a GP40TC, which have since been rebuilt into GP38-3Hs. The GP40TCs were a Toronto commuter engine. They made like 6 of them that Amtrak sort of got a hold of. They still do the same job. It's like in case of emergency, break glass. We have these for MOW, or they can provide head-end power to do a rescue. I also now need to figure out how I do Race Street. Race Street has its own weirdo special thing that I do. Okay, that's what I thought. 527 plus 654, 4900 series. That's a nice sort of overview there. That's probably also taken from the old parking deck, because the Circus Cent. Oh no, this was taken from the 30th Street Station platform. You can see the bar there. Okay, sorry we're going a little slow here. Almost done. Coming down to the last set here. This is a short set today. I'm gonna see what's up with the chat. Yeah, the HHP. So, the HHPs had two kinds of issues. They kind of had issues being hard on the track. The other issues were unspecified computer problems. And for the life of me, I could never figure out why no one could ever do a software patch. Yeah, it's like software issues. You fix the software. I finally figured. I believe the reason they never fixed the software was because it was a weird triangular relationship. Bombardier made them and did a leaseback agreement with like a big company like GE or AT&T or someone who needed it was part of a tax scheme, and they then leased them to Amtrak. So I think they got into a who's gonna spend the money to fix it problem. Amtrak was saying, well, it's not our problem to fix it. We're leasing it from Bombardier. It's Bombardier should fix it. Bombardier said, well, it's not our problem. It's I don't know. I forget who actually owned them. It's like AT&T. Well, it's something like AT&T. And they're like, well, it's not our problem. It's in the lease. You guys got to fix it. So no one for 20, for whatever 15, 20 years, 15 years, no one, they just like no one could decide who's going to spend the money to fix the problem, and they never fixed it. It's like I hate the people that say, "Oh, it has software problems." Like the point of a software problem is that you can fix a software problem. That's why things is done in software. The GP40MCs up in MBTA had software problems, but they fixed them. So I never could understand what was up with those HHP8s never fixing their software problems until I learned that there was a third party, that Bombardier, that there was a weird leaseback type thing, or ownership or something, and that there was a third I'll say owner. There's only one owner, but there was like a third owner interest in there. So it probably was again. Just this probably massive argument of who fixes the problems. Probably would have cost so much less, but once the lawyers get involved. So again, Art Museum, an AX, 946. We got an E60 in there. We got some NJT. Those are Arrow 2s. I'm almost positive those got to be the... I don't know. I can't tell. But I'm betting those are the Arrow 2s that SEPTA bought. They bought a pair of Arrow 2s. They're the only Arrow 2... They're currently used as cab cars on the SEPTA wire train. They're split up. But they're the only Arrow 2s left. And I think that that's them. You can see the wide vent thingy on them. That's about they're in the 600 series. We got some heritage painted E60, two E60s there, and some heritage Phase 4 heritage painted P42s. Although I think some of those are P40s. That looks like a heritage painted P40. And then we have an Acela. So I don't even know how to label this damn thing because there's so much going on, and I'm just gonna chop off this bunch of junk there. And then your this is if you were doing a things that aren't there anymore drinking game, this one picture would send you to the hospital. Two E60s, an AEM7, double Arrow 2s, of those technically do exist, P40s. I mean, some of the stuff does exist, but like it's kind of way on. It's really close to beyond the way out. Okay. Sorry about that. Just trying to get that written. Oops, I forgot to resize this. There we go. So yeah, I guess I snagged all those Race Street photos just shooting out of 30th Street on the way back to Thorndale. Yeah. Again, for anyone who missed the last 2 weeks ago, I somehow got a ride out to Thorndale, and then rode SEPTA to West Trenton, and then rode it back to Thorndale. That might be the longest SEPTA trip you could take, although I have a suspicion that Doylestown to Thorndale is longer, and actually has a one-seat ride. But that Doylestown branch is dumb. So I mean, it's it's there, but whatever. It's kind of lame. Just slow. So here we have Amtrak Styles Interlocking. That is the Track 2 West signal. Styles was put in to accommodate the new SEPTA Overbrook maintenance facility. For anyone who doesn't know, that ramp there that was for years used for just Kinwood trains, that was Track 4. Track 1 would be next to it over there. There's a Track 1 catenary. This is Track 4. You would go up and over this at track speed, 60 miles an hour, maybe 70, cross the valley flyover, and come down the other side. And Track 2 right here would instead of going Track 1, Track 4, Track 2, then it would be Track 1, Track 2, Track nothing, Track 4. When that Overbrook maintenance facility went in, they had to relocate Track 4. So you'd go out at the JO section of Zoo, you instead of having this really neat sort of flyover system that the PRR put in, they just have trains do a flat crossover. It doesn't really matter, you're still coming, it's still kind of, you can get enough stuff in there for a 2-track line, but it kind of makes using the Track 2 as in you get conflicts if you're trying to use Track 2 for expresses or whatever. God, this looks like it's tilty. Okay, that's good enough, I guess. Again, here's another one of the part of the Overbrook. All these interlockings are still controlled from Zoo. They have unit lever panels in Zoo. There's the Valley Flyover. And this is Paxton Interlocking, which is now, when they replaced the Valley Flyover, now Kinwood trains diverge through at Paxton. But as originally built, it was simply the east end of the SEPTA yard. Here we have Overbrook's westbound signal bridge. This is before I ran into my tower friend at Overbrook, so it was before I'd gotten into the tower and been able to do all the fun stuff there. That was in 2003. So, I'm still, I don't know all the ins and outs of Overbrook yet. It still doesn't look entirely straight. Let's try that. Okay. I'm just going to check to see what's going on here. Yeah, I'm sure that if back to those I'm responding to the HHP comment and the thing. I'm sure that if it was simply an issue between Amtrak and Bombardier, Amtrak, you can't lease, usually if a lease is done right, Amtrak would have leased them from Bombardier. It wouldn't have worked. Amtrak would have said, fix it or we're going to sue you. You can't, we're not idiots. We're not going to lease a defective product. Blah, blah. Here, when you have a third party, suddenly it's like, you can't sue us. It's not our fault. Look at this ambiguously worded contract. It's the leasing companies, they're responsible. And then they just go around in a giant circle. Once you have three parties involved, then it's a lot harder to be threatening lawsuits and such. I need to go and find. I need to get my Amtrak diagram up here to figure out what that signal is at Overbrook. Bryn Mawr, I guess it's C1. That'd be the 8R at Overbrook. Hopefully that name won't collide. Into the home stretch here. Here we have this nice picture Overbrook with your post 9/11 flag going on. And again, this is 2002. You can still have your 9/11 flag. I think that a bunch of my pictures are not in this set, but I know that I've seen this. I have this photo, so let me go find it in my other thing. Might be the first one, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is actually the first picture I've had of this tower. So, how can I make it better? Also notice the Overbrook platform is in the process of being rehabilitated. There we go. I'm just going to expand this one a little bit. See if I can get rid of some of that red. There we go. It's a cute little tower and it's still in service, so at least for now. A lot of stuff that I thought was going to stay in service is suddenly not. So it's always good to keep track of stuff. Jumping ahead to Bryn Mawr. This is where the Bryn Mawr substation, which was built for the 1915 electrification. The original 1915 electrification, instead of using the PRR's more typical 138 kV system with a plus minus 69 kV feeders, they were using a 44 kV system, which is closer to kind of what like the Reading and the New Haven we're going to be doing with it's more like beefy feeders, not like long distance power transmission. Trying to figure out how I can do this. I don't really like the name I changed, but I'm gonna get that other diagram up. So it was a 44 kV feeder system with substations. That system's been decommissioned. There are no feeders between Zoo substation at Zoo and Paoli. It's a 20-mile plus length with no substations. But there is the old substation at Bryn Mawr is a sort of a switching. It can do catenary sectionalization and cross tying, and I've been told that because you have 4 tracks, you have enough copper to handle the amps from those 2 end substations to keep the voltage up. I don't know if that's an accurate assessment, but that's what I've been told. So this is the 9 switch at Bryn Mawr. Huh, I forgot to sharpen that one. I still can. And here we have a side view. Bryn Mawr Tower, if it looks familiar, is the same model as Paoli and Cly. Like I said, it caught fire in 1994. Somehow did not burn to the ground. It just destroyed some of the, and they just had to go nuts with the re-interlocking it. Somehow they got that done lickety-split, or at least fast enough, I guess. I was flat out told that if that fire hadn't happened, Bryn Mawr would still be open. It would still only be part-time, and with all the headaches that would bring. Because Amtrak had absolutely no interest in fixing, upgrading that unless the state of PA did. And the state of PA really didn't really have any money to, didn't really care about the Philly commuter stuff anyway. Because, with most of the state being Alabama, they don't really give a crap. Yeah, there it is. I don't know this. I don't know what station this is. But I don't need to know because I'm just going to use the original name that just called this SEPTA 280. So sometimes life is easy. Almost done. Oh, here we have a good one. SEPTA Silverliner 2, number 9010. This is one of the ones. This is the one that was on that last fan trip. The fair. Oh no, this is the one that was on not the last. The official fan trip. This was one of the ones that was on the last day of service on the Kinwood line was 9010 and some Silverliner 3. Paoli has since been completely rebuilt with a center island platform. This is before PennDOT PA rebuilt the line with concrete ties, and you can see those center tracks are not looking so hot. I mean, not a lot used them. Ballast. So there were some ballast trains that went through, and some SEPTA deadheads, but almost everything would use the East End facilities at Paoli to do the local express transfers. Paoli, for the longest time, was one of the few SEPTA stations that had a ticket office open on a Saturday. In fact, I think it was the only station, forget Saturday, I think SEPTA was the only, Paoli was one of the only ones that, outside of Center City, that had a ticket office open on Sundays. Jenkintown had Saturday. Now, I don't even know what the heck they do. But back in the 90s, when I actually had a lot of, SEPTA was trying to roll out ticket vending machines, and a bunch of other stuff, so... not sure what I would have called this one. Let's try to find. Yeah, well, whatever. I gotta use the right terminology for that. All right, 1 second. That would be the 12L signal. Yeah, a lot of Silverliner 2s out today. In fact, that's a complete 4-car set of 2s. I think there's only 38 of them, but they were running all over the place. At this point, I honestly think that SEPTA had a plan to try to get the Silverliner 5s in by around 2005 or ordered by 2005. That turned out to be, I think they got the order. They put the order in, but did not show up for another 7 years. So any attempt to get their money's worth out of the 2s and preserve the 4s had to be recalled a couple times. So here we have the I mentioned this the other day, the Paoli Tower, but also this. If you know your historic photos, this gap here is where trains would pull into Paoli Yard after completing their suburban runs. Then the yard was, of course, contaminated heavily by PCBs. So in this part, there's still, now it's going to be a parking lot. I think they're building a parking structure there. In this, it is literally a contaminated brownfield. Way down there, let me unresize real quick. You can see the shop building. That's the Paoli MU shops. Again, heavily contaminated and since demolished. And let me see. Yeah, good enough. And some of those center, although it is Paoli, I said it's 2 tracks. West of Paoli, every so often, MOW and other stuff are stored on those old center tracks, 2 and 3. And today we had a SRS. In this day, there was an SRS Doodlebug parked there. Number 125. Not sure. There's still a bunch of SRS Doodlebugs running around, often for like the NEC, where it's hard to get the high rail pickup trucks in. The Doodlebugs can do it a lot quicker. But they have definitely pulled back from their Doodlebug-centric service. We're almost done. Got 2 left here. And we are back at Thorndale. Incidentally, this little dude here is a pedestrian underpass. This track has been cut. This one has just been recently turned into a single end turnout, and it's been made electric. So, but the rest of Thorn is actually doing pretty well. Although that's something that I think is going to be converted sooner rather than later. Not much I can do because I've already been out there, and you will eventually see a whole bunch of neat, additional, some cool Thorn content pretty soon. If you keep watching my YouTube channel, I have some I got a literal hot video that I need to cool off a little bit. Oh, what's up here? I didn't know that Maine and New Hampshire had active tower lift bridges. Just because there's a tender there doesn't mean that the dispatch, like the bridge, whoever's at the bridge has to have local control over switches or signals. It's most times they don't. The dispatcher unlocks the bridge. A few places there are tower bridges with the local control over their switches and signals, and I don't doubt there are some that have gone unnoticed. There's a CSX one in St. John's, Michigan, that I discovered that counts as an active tower. That wasn't on any of the lists. It even survived the resignaling. So I'm just going to rename this one. 57 switch reverse. And last photo of the day. Making the final thing here. We have the that's the 47E and the 41 switch, both reverse. Oh man, it seems oddly tilted. I'm not sure what I can really do about it. Oops, need to say that that's in the westbound direction. So this is the 47 switch, 47E or W. And that is it. That is it for this 3-part special heading to Thorndale and back. I'm going to get these up on the website. So you guys can peruse the full set, etc. So let me see if there's any questions down here. Yeah, no, NYCTA has more than a few towers. In fact, most of their master towers count as towers as well. So, let me get you the link to that. So the link to where all my photos are, I'm just gonna throw these in the chat. They're piggybacked off of redoveryellow.com right now. I used to have independent hosting from a university, but kids these days don't know how to maintain servers, and eventually what should have been a lifetime whatever kind of collapsed due to a literal thermal event. Something caught fire. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time tonight. It's surprisingly this has now gone on longer than I thought it would. So I got to sign off here. Thank you guys for coming on. Sorry about the weird feedback and the testing in the beginning. But now I think I have at least a somewhat workable solution, even though the actual dashboard is completely useless. There's something wrong here. I mean, I'm not running this in WaterFox or one like a non-supported browser. I'll see what I can find somewhere. So anyway, thank you very much, and I will see what I can do about this. And I don't know when my next stream is going to be. I really do not know. It likely will be the 23rd of September, which is a Wednesday, if you can believe it. I'm hoping to do, but it's going to have to be like a one-shot then. That's probably going to be the next time I get up here to do something. Anyway, have a great day, and thank you very much. At least I can get out there and